Okay, don't forget to find your attendance. While waiting, maybe we can discuss about the different class. Okay. So, how many of you okay with online class? Because I noticed some of the friends recommended online class for replacement. But when I checked with the office did not approve. So I need to double check. If we do online, if agreed by everyone, then I can proceed. Otherwise, I will go for online. So how many of you okay with online again, please? Okay. So can you suggest a date so that I can check now itself everyone is okay with the date or not? The class rep on behalf of everyone say okay or not. Okay. Can I have it on how many students involved? Many.
Nearly entire group of.
So we go for other days. What about Monday? Monday, I can make it later because online, but we just attend from home. So Monday, is it okay for you to attend the class from 7 to 9? Any group can't make it. Monday 7 to 9, replacement, one lecture. Monday 7 to 9. Class rep can tell me now. If any of your friends can't make it, we'll go for other days. I will send you the invitation.
We have class until 6. Some
Class until 6. 7:30 to 9:30.
7:30 to 9:30. Okay.
Okay, 7:30 to 9:30. Okay. Group 1. Group 2. Group 2. Anyone from group 2? Class rep not here, then anyone from group 2? Okay. 7:30, 9:30. Okay, thank you. See? Okay, 7:30 to 9:30 Monday. Okay, good. Group 4. Okay, thank you. 5. Okay. Group 6. Okay. Group 6. Oh, you are the group 6. Oh, yeah, just not me. Group 7. Group 7. You have 9 groups, right? Group 7. Anyone from group 7? No one from group 7 here? What about, you're not sure, is it? Okay. Okay, group 8. 9, finally. Okay, good. Monday, 7:30 to 9:30, you will receive an invitation to join my class. Let me settle the lecture, pending lecture. Okay, lecture chapter 3, part 1. Okay? Okay, now let me start with chapter 2. Have you started with your assignment? Yes? In your practical class, have you started with your assignment? Okay, today I will guide you how to do your assignment while I brief you this chapter. Because there are few tasks come from this chapter. Your assignment based on this chapter, part 1. Okay, part 1, the whole thing are based on chapter 2. Task 1, task 2, task 3 from chapter 2. So while I guide you or I lecture on chapter 2, I will also guide you on the assignment. Okay? Okay, let's start. It's all about the first phase. You still remember the cross? Okay, you still remember this four quadrant? All of you still remember this? Requirement engineering process. This is all about your course. Until the end, you're going to only learn about this diagram. Okay? So requirement elicitation. Correct? Requirement elicitation. Requirement? Anyone remember? What's the second one? After you gather the requirement, what do you do with the requirement?
Proposal.
Yeah, of course, requirement elicitation will produce output. The output is proposal, correct? This is output for phase 1, proposal. We call it as business proposal, correct? What about the next phase? After you collect all the requirements from the stakeholder, what do you do? Do you think the requirements are verified in order? No missing requirement? No conflict? So what do you do with the requirement? requirement? Evaluation of the requirement. So you analyze, you check any missing requirement or not. Any problem with the requirement document, requirement collection or not. Okay, any requirement clashing with each other or not. Anything ambiguous or not. So you try to solve all the issues with the requirement. Then what do you do next? What do you do next? Anyone? You specify the requirement specification and what is specification? I explained briefly last week. What is specification, class? Anyone? What is specification? Anyone? No one listened to me last week? Oh, because I canceled 2 classes, we forgot everything. What is requirement specification? Can I write, for example, the system shall allow the users to log in? Is this specific? No. Login nowadays, there are so many ways to implement. Okay? Face recognition, biometric, sound recognition, okay, or voice recognition, okay, password and username. Okay, there are so many ways to log in. So you have to give details about what kind of login you are expecting, so that your design team will know what to do, what to design. Otherwise, you just mention login. There are so many ways to log in. Okay, so you put in the details. You make it more specific. You make it more specific. Okay, so that's specification. After you do the specification, you can also document your requirement. So documentation. So specification and documentation always comes together. Okay? And then what is the fourth one? This is our recall from last week. Recall. Okay? Since I teach you for 2 classes, I recall first. Okay? What do you do next? Now, already prepare the document. Okay, output. This one we call agreed requirement. Agreed requirement is the output. Is the output. Agreed requirement. For this, SRS. Software requirement specification document. Okay, SRS is the output. Specification. You see specification. So software requirement specification. Another word I accept in exam is RD. Requirement document. Because you do the documentation here. So you prepare the document, you produce the document. So here you get your proposal, business proposal to sign the contract. Okay, but you cannot sign first. You cannot sign the contract here. I have also explained that why. Okay, then you conduct a lot of different techniques of evaluation. Then you come up with agreed requirement. Who agreed? Your client. Then finally you put it in a specific form and you document the requirement. So now you come up with the documentation. So are you done with the requirement engineering? Since the document is ready, are you done with the requirement engineering? Why? Final checking. Go back to the client. Because clients are the ones who produce the requirement. The requirements are from the client. You are not simply writing the requirement. Requirements are what required by the client. So all their output. Correct or not? So you have to go back to them to ask them to validate and verify. Validate, verify. Okay? So one is checking for the correctness. Okay? Correctness. One more checking for the what do you call that? That's why validation is correctness. Verification is verify whether your client to sign the contract. So you will pass this document to your client, especially the higher management who can make decision. Let them go through the document. If they are okay with everything, they will sign the contract with you to start the project. See, like a story. So you remember this form in exam. Somehow you can answer most of the questions. Okay? Okay, now it doesn't end here. You know why? It doesn't end here. You know why? Why? While you are working on the project, let's say you are at the design phase. Let's say you are at the coding phase. Your client can come back. Ask, you know what? My company is now bought by another organization. So we have to implement some changes. Or now the government has changed. So we need to make some changes to the requirement. So when they ask for the changes, no choice, you have to go through this again. So here comes the cycle. Requirement changes, change management. Clear? So remember this forever until you at least until you complete this semester examination, final examination. Okay? Of course, I don't ask you the theory. I'll come up with the diagram, explain each of them. But I will test your understanding of this. Okay? I have submitted the exam paper. Okay? So whatever I say important, pay attention. Okay? Midterm test in 2 weeks time, week 4. And I try to give you on the last stage so that you have enough time to study. I'm going to give you on week 4 Friday. Same day, same time, but week 4. Okay? So just now I say replacement class for the midterm test. You will see there is a replacement class for midterm test, but I will use it for lecture. Maybe I do revision before you go for the midterm test. Okay? But I will conduct the midterm test on the last day of the week, Friday. Confirm. Okay? So chapter 1, chapter 2, chapter 3. Chapter 1 to easy. Chapter 3, I have to use 3 weeks to cover. A lot. Too many topics. Okay? And very important. Very, very important. You know what? There are a lot of modeling. Okay? So it's a very important chapter. 50% of the questions will be from chapter 3. So you guys focus on chapter 3. Okay? So replacement class, I will start with chapter 3. Okay? Okay, now start. So today's class, I'm going to show you how to identify the stakeholders. Okay, there are 2 types of elicitation technique. So you understand, right? What is elicitation? Collecting requirement, gathering requirement. Okay, ways to gather requirement. You have learned this in so many other courses, I can promise you that. But here, since it's all about requirement engineering, you will learn in detail. Okay, pro and cons, when to use the technique, so many things in detail. Okay, so explain artifact-driven elicitation and stakeholder-driven. There are 2 categories of elicitation technique. All the while you study elicitation technique or data gathering techniques, but you don't categorize them. Today, I'm going to show you the categories. In exam, right, sometimes I will just choose one category. So if you go and give me technique from the other category with a valid reason also, you won't be getting any marks. Because I asked for certain category, you have to follow the category. So the categories are important. Okay? Then we're going to understand the requirement elicitation process. How to carry out the elicitation. How do we conduct the elicitation. That's all. 4 important topics. Okay? So quickly start. Okay, stakeholder. What is stakeholder? Do you know what is stakeholder? Anyone? You have a project, an organization involved in the project. You as the developer also involved in the project. So who are the stakeholders? Who are the stakeholders? Okay, let's take one example. Dec Wk cafeteria. We're going to propose a system, an application, mobile application for Dec Wk ordering, cafeteria ordering, for example. Okay, because now I find very difficult to buy food. So let's say we are proposing a cafeteria ordering system, cafe ordering system. Can anyone tell me who are the stakeholders? Who are the stakeholders? Morning itself. Okay. Anyone? Who are the stakeholders? for cafe ordering system TAUMP. Of course, whoever buy the food, students, staff, or everyone that buy the food. Okay, fine. Whoever sell the food, who is selling the food? Stall owners, shopkeepers. Okay, yeah, fine. Then there are some cleaners. Can I also include cleaners as my stakeholders? Cleaners of the canteen. Can or not? What do you think? Can or not? Cleaners of the canteen. Can they be the stakeholders? Can or not? Can. Somehow they influence the system. For your information, stakeholders not only the people who use the system, can be people who influence the system directly or indirectly. So cleaners indirectly influence the system. Okay? They are collecting, they are cleaning, and then if the sitting place. You know, when you are developing a system, if let's say got seat availability checking function, if got what do you call that, booking the seat. Okay, booking the seat. Let's say, okay. Then if the cleaners do not clean the table, then the seat is counted as unavailable. Correct or not? So somehow they influence the system. Okay. Other than that, what about TAUMP management team? You know, canteen comes under which department of TAUMP? Anyone? Canteen comes under which department of TAUMP?
Student affair.
Students affair. So what about student affair head, manager, blah blah blah, all the higher management? Are they also counted as stakeholders? Yes, they are the one make decision on the tender. Who to give the tender? Okay, when to end the tender? What kind of food can be sold in the canteen? All those decisions come from them. Everything. If let's say someone requests to renovate, they cannot simply renovate. Even though it's their rented shop, they cannot simply renovate. They have to get the permission from the Students Affairs Department. So, of course, decision making, Student Affairs Department. So, not everything will be controlled by President. He got no time to do all. So, there are departments in charge of every single thing. You understand or not? So, what happened now? Decision making also, decision making thing is also a part of stakeholder. Right? What about another university's cafeteria system? Another university cafeteria. Can they be the competitors for us? Yes. We always try to compete to improve our facilities, our teaching and so on. So that we can attract more students, obviously. So, we always try to improve by comparing our system or our current facilities with other universities. So, whichever university become our competitors are also our stakeholders, indirect stakeholders. So again, what is stakeholder? Stakeholders are people who influence the system directly or indirectly. Can be the user, can be the decision making team, can be anyone somehow influence the system. Clear? Okay, good. This one will come out in midterm. You have to know. Okay, why am I telling the question? No worries. I will give you a problem you need to identify. Okay? So how do you actually analyze the stakeholder? How do you determine the stakeholder? Because usually when I see you do software engineering assignment or any other assignment, you just simply list down one by one. Whatever comes to your mind, you just list down. Is that a proper way to identify the stakeholders? What do you think? Is there any way to identify stakeholders? How to know that I have covered all the stakeholders? How to make sure that I have identified all the stakeholders for my project? Here comes a technique. We have 6 factors. We have 6 factors. We call it as selection of stakeholders factors. You can call it as factor or criteria. Both names are suitable. Factors or criteria. In exam, usually I refer to this by the word factor or criteria. Okay, factors or criteria. So now, there are only 6 factors. You have to analyze one by one factor for your project. For example, look at the first one. Relevant position in the organization. So just now what I said, Student Affairs Center take charge of canteen. So you go to the Student Affairs Center or department, you try to identify all the position in their responsibility. See who actually in charge of canteen. Okay, what are the positions that really make decision regarding canteen. Okay, anything to do with canteen, who involved. So you identify all the positions. Let's see, what about the salesmen, what do you call that, the sellers or shop stall owners. Okay, is there any leaders or like representative among them that decide or like voice out if there is any issues among them? So any position there, analyze. Then what about the buyers? Buyers like students and staff. Can we complain if the food is not good? If we find like the price is too high, how do we complain? Is there any position among us can perform all these features? Yes, student representative. Correct or not? You can evaluate the teaching, facilities, everything towards the end of the semester if not mistaken. So student representative also can be a stakeholder for that project. You understand or not? How you analyze student representative? Under this factor, relevant position. You understand or not? Okay? So this is how you actually analyze, and then you need to explain. You cannot simply just say, okay, student representative, okay, manager of the student affairs center, director of the student affairs center or department. Cannot simply say, must explain how they influence the system. That's how you do your assignment task 1. Assignment task 1. If you still find task 1 not clear, this is how you do. Every student choose one factor. Every student choose one factor. Explain, discuss the factor for your project. Do not write in general. Don't explain what's the meaning of the factor or what's the example of factor. No, I don't want any general information. You don't get any mark if you write generally. Assignment, you need to discuss for your project. So first week you have identified a title. You have identified an organization where got a lot of problem and you're going to produce a software to solve the problem. You're going to come up with a solution to solve the problem. So that's your title. So now you have to choose one factor each, every student one factor, discuss this factor for that particular organization and project. Then come out with as many stakeholders as possible. Analyze as many as possible. Cover all the stakeholders under each factor. Then you come up with a good book. You understand what I mean? That's what you need to do for task 1, assignment. Okay, so first factor is done. First factor done. What is role in making decision? Okay, what is role in making decision? Yeah, the decision makers. When come to constraint, for example, the budget for the project. Okay, now the cafeteria. How much of money will be given to the vendor to develop the system? 40,000? 60,000? 100,000? Who decide on the budget? Who decide on what are the features we want? Who decide on when do we start using the application? All this decision come from whom? So, of course, go back to the client, the organization, identify the position that involve in making decision. Okay, so don't miss any decision maker. Then you can even consider UMT, HR and other department. Is there anyone influenced in the decision making for canteen, contract and so on? If yes, they are a part of the decision making team. Identify all the positions under decision making. Next factor, type of contributed knowledge, level of domain expertise. I remember I developed a system, okay, when I was doing my degree project, I got a chance to develop a system, medical. You know what? Someone involved in an accident, let's say. Someone involved in an accident. I was a degree student, final year. So, if let's say that particular person lose a part of the body, like skull, go missing, hand or whatever, but my project was focusing on the head, skull. So my dean, he won about 10 awards and more for this kind of projects, medical related projects. So he actually opened up the project for some degree students, whoever interested can come and try to attend the interview. If you are selected, you can do a small portion of the project. Usually he only works with masters and PhD, but he offered for degree students. So my friend asked me to go and try, because you use MATLAB, a lot of like programming work and logical work which we all like. So I wanted to try. So you know what was the project? If the skull, a part of the skull go missing in the accident, you lose the skull, part of the skull in accident, this system with the help of a device will measure exact lost part to come up with the artificial skull. Interesting, right? Very interesting, right? So when I went, I was like, wow, so nice the project. At least I can be a part of the project. So we got the chance to work on the project. But what happened, unfortunately, there are some lower level management people, still management people, sue the dean, say you cannot take any degree student, not allowed. So we have to withdraw halfway. All the master student and PhD student were working with the project until the end. But ourselves, the degree students were asked to find other supervisors, other titles. So sad. That was a big disappointment. Okay, but it was very interesting. I worked for a few months. Very interesting. You have to measure the lost part of the skull and come up with the measurements to produce artificial skull. Okay, now why am I talking about this? Do you think I know everything about skull, how to actually attach an artificial skull? Do I have the knowledge? I am IT student. I know everything about technical working, how to design, how to develop. Yes, application, technical part, I know very well. All IT team members are very, very, very skilled in that part. What about skull? What about the medical things? Do you know? As an IT developer, do you know? No, we don't know. System developer don't know anything about the domain. You know what is domain? The field or area involved in the project. So this is a medical project. So the domain is medical. We don't know anything about medical. So you know what we did? We actually collaborate with doctors. We collaborate with doctors, not normal doctors, specialists. Okay, for this skull, brain and all that. Okay, and they always give a lot of input. So interesting the project. While working on the project, it was so interesting. Always meet the doctors, learn a lot of things about the skull, brain and so on, nervous system. So they contribute a lot of knowledge. Use the knowledge, we convert into application. You understand or not? So domain expertise. Now tell me, doctors are a part of the project or not? Yes. So they are also stakeholders. So now, type of contributor knowledge, doctors, nurses or whoever involved. Okay? Like MRI, radio department, radiology department. They are not doctors. Radiology departments, radiologists, different occupation. They also can be a part of the contributor knowledge. So as stakeholders as well. Okay, then level of domain expertise. This too, more on the domain. So every project that we take up as IT expert will involve other domain. Like just now, you see cafeteria system is food business. So you need to understand how food is prepared. How long does it take? So we need to know someone, we need to get some information from food business expertise. You get what I mean, right? What about system like, the student intranet, staff intranet for teaching and learning purpose? What's the domain? What's the domain class? Anyone? Education. Very good. Education. Okay? So you need to have expertise from education domain. Lecturers, professors, whoever involved in education domain. So this is for domain. Okay? You need to identify who are the people involved from the domain side. Okay? Now, fourth one. Exposure to perceived problem. Okay, next, exposure to perceived problem. Okay, just now cafeteria. What was the problem? Why we want to come up with an application for cafeteria ordering? Anyone? What was the problem? Why we need a system now? Why not we just continue with the current way of buying and selling food? Anyone? Oh, why it's very quiet, this group? Group 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9. First time teaching you. Oh, so quiet. To make the class more interesting, to make sure that I don't fall asleep while teaching, you need to be active. At least say something. When I ask question, if you are responsive, then I will be, motivated to teach. You understand or not? Wrong or right, no problem. Just try. Okay? Before this, always the big group handled by me for this course. 100 plus. So I guess this is one of the most quiet group. Very quiet. Okay, now tell me, cafeteria. What are the problems currently we are facing? Why do we need a system now? Anyone? How if I don't want to develop a system? Can you just proceed with the current, selling and buying method? What's wrong? What's wrong with this current system? Long waiting time. I can complain a lot. Sometimes, at least some shop very considerate. They got some, they have two different queue. One for staff, one for student. At least, I go under the staff queue, which is not very long. But some shop, I have to queue up with you guys. Wow, very long. Sometimes I have only 30 minutes break to have my lunch. By the time I get the food, time's up for the next class. No time to eat. Happened before for me. It happened. Sometimes too many hours of teaching, technical subjects, I have to go for the next class. So long waiting time. One of the problem that I face. What about you guys? You have never faced any problem with the canteen? Wow. Everything is perfect. Sure. Yeah, I guess you face more problem than me. No problem? Very satisfied with the canteen? Yeah, actually our canteen is quite good. I can say that. The food, price, reasonable, everything is good. But the service, what kind of improvement can you do? Like myself, I say long waiting time. You guys? Anyone got any error, like face any error in calculation before? Like they returned the wrong amount of money. What happened before our canteen? No. Wow, all very good in maths now then. Right? Wow, not bad. Happened, for me, that one also. When I give 20 ringgit and the shop owner thought 10 ringgit. Okay? So this, I just want to share some. I'm not complaining. I just want to discuss this with an example. So I'm giving you an example that I have gone through in my life. Okay? So, calculation error or food order error. You order A, menu A, but you receive B. Another problem. Because too many people, too crowded, they can make mistakes. Then, other than that, long waiting time, long queue, errors during the purchase, some more. Okay, I've got a few problems. Who are the people go through this problem? Tell me. Who are the people facing this problem while purchasing or buying food? Customers, students, staff. Then the shop owner also, they are very stressed, Have you seen that during the lunchtime? Wow, they seems like very stressed, to handle that big crowd of students or staff. Right? So, this is another issue. Okay? So, to solve this, so exposure to perceived problem. So, the problem now, the current system problem, who are the people facing? And that's why we want to come up with a solution. So, you identify all the people that facing the current system's problem. Comes under this factor. So, they are stakeholders. So, just now I mentioned a few, right? Students, staff, cleaners also. They find it very difficult to clean in a short period of time. Too many plates, too many cups, too many tables, so many things. So, maybe cleaners. So, you can identify the people who are facing the problem. Identify all the people, as many as possible. Okay? Personal interest and potential conflict. Can anyone tell me what is personal interest on the project? Who have the personal interest on project? Cafeteria, ordering system. Who have interest on the project? Personal interest? Obviously, the shop owner can. Other than that, to improve the business. Personal interest on the project? Our management, right? They want to improve our service and facilities. So they propose an online application to slowly change our campus to become smart campus, for example. Okay, so that is personal interest. What about conflict? What about conflict, class? Conflict? Competitors. Okay, when we have a cafeteria, another university cafeteria system is much better than us. I'm very sure our customers, students especially, will start comparing. So that can also cause a lot of issues in our business, right? So conflict or interest, usually the investors, people who put on money, who actually enjoy the profit. These are the people. Okay, so conflict can be the competitors. Influence in system acceptance. At the end, your system is ready. Who decide if this system is fine to accept? So when you do your final testing, when you conduct your final testing as the developer, who decide if the system is fine to accept or not? End users. End users usually involved in what system acceptance test or testing. So they see all the features, everything is expected or not, everything satisfied or not. So they actually confirm if the system is ready to be accepted or not. Yes. Other than that, yeah, obviously the higher management who actually involved in decision making, the same actually. So they can actually decide if the system is up to the expected quality or not. They have spent, let's say, 100,000. If the system satisfied or not, okay, 100,000 worth or not, they make decision in system accepting. So normally system acceptance and users and higher management. Okay, clear? So these are the factors. So for assignment, every student from your team need to choose one. So maximum 5 members, right? So you can go for 5 factors. If you are hardworking enough, one of you, or you can do all 6 factors. Okay, obviously can. You do more, of course you will be appreciated. Okay, so again, one student, one factor, discuss the factor, then try to analyze all the stakeholders under the factor. Clear? That's what you have to do for the assignment. Don't talk about definition, examples or whatever, generic. No. Directly explain your project, discuss about your project only. Okay? Okay, let's move on. Okay, so here, okay, why acquiring knowledge? Gathering knowledge is a very challenging process. Who can tell me? You want to go and collect knowledge from stakeholders. For example, you meet up with the staff. Ask them, okay, current system, what's the issue? What happened if this one goes wrong? How you fix it? So when you want to acquire the knowledge from someone, right? Why it is so difficult? Because this chapter is all about acquiring knowledge, gathering information. Why it is very challenging? Can anyone tell me? Why it is so difficult? Why it is so difficult to gather knowledge? Okay, look at this. Distributor sources, conflicting viewpoint. Staff 1 say, okay, borrower can borrow the book and keep for 3 weeks. Then staff 2, librarian 2 says, no, the students can only keep the book for 1 week. Conflict. Right? So when you collect requirement from more and more people, you will have a lot of conflict, clashes, a lot of issues. Right? That is the first one. Difficult to access the key people. Sometimes your client say our manager is the best person to conduct interview. You can go and get all the information from him regarding the system. Then you try to fix appointment with the manager, but unable to fix an appointment because always busy. Manager has a lot of tasks. He got no time to sit and have interview session with you. So busy. Sometimes CEO even worse. You can't even meet him for a few minutes. So key people always very difficult to meet up. That is another issue. Third one, different background, terminology, culture. If you are developing a system for multinational, oh terrible. A system, global system, to be used by anyone from this world, different, you cannot satisfy all. the features, the language that you use on the system, everything differ from each and other. Correct or not? If you use English, of course, English speaking countries can understand. What about the other country? So you cannot be like, satisfying everyone by having 10 languages or 20 languages. Correct or not? Like flight booking system. So they go for some international languages, some very popular languages. They don't have all the languages from the world. Same thing culture. When you choose the color, right? Maybe black is not a good color for this country or this culture. But the others, some find black is a standard color. So you have to, make decision based on all this. Another issue, different people, different background, different terminology, they use different terms. When they give you the requirement, they use different terms. Even sign up. Some says register. Some says sign up. Some says what? Can you tell me other terms for sign up? So you go different country, they practice different terms. So you don't even know this is sign up. You understand or not? So that is another problem. Okay, next. Hidden needs are irrelevant details. Sometimes they don't reveal. You go and ask information. You want to develop the system. You want to collect information from them. When you ask, they don't reveal. They don't tell you everything. They don't share everything. They hide. Why? We also don't. Some clients or some staff, they don't reveal everything. So very difficult for you to complete the project. Okay? Then the other one is actually irrelevant details. Sometimes they give you some details which are not useful for the project. Irrelevant totally. We can't do anything. We collect. At the end, we have to go for the evaluation to remove the details. It's your responsibility to do that. Sometimes they give you so much of information, but they are not useful. They are not relevant to the project. Okay. Then internal politics, competitors' resistance to change. Yeah, sometimes, like I said the other day, did I share? When we want to develop a system, right? Student intranet, okay, or like our course filing system, there are a group of people, they don't want to accept the online version. You know why? They don't want to change. They're already very familiar with the manual way. So suddenly you are asking them to change, learn the new online version. They don't want. They are very comfortable, very convenient, and very, very satisfied with the current, very familiar with the current manual way. So suddenly, if you ask them to use online application, they need to learn. They need to spend time to learn IT, learn online application, how to do it. They don't want to do that. Okay? Then personal turnover changes in organization. Okay, today you go for a meeting to collect requirement. You met the IT manager. You collected all the information. You come back to your office. You started working on the project. Then after 2 weeks, when you go there, the IT manager no more there. Resign. Another IT manager is sitting there. Do you think you can work on the project smoothly? Oh, we had this experience before. I have. Okay? Very troublesome. Whatever stated by the previous IT manager, no longer valid. You need to restart with this new IT manager. You understand or not? Turnover rate means resign. People resign and new people join the company. Very high turnover, which is not really good. One of the university that I have worked, very low turnover rate. I have worked in APU before. I have worked in other universities before. Turnover rate is quite high. Always people resign and new people will be joining. But here, when I met some of the staff during the invigilation, wow, 30 years working here, 40 years working here. First job until now, last job also same. Not bad. So many. So it's a very stable organization. Easy when you are working on a project in this kind of organization. They know everything. Anyone can give you whatever information you want. If the turnover rate is very high, they don't know much about the organization and the system. So very difficult for you to collect information. You understand or not what I mean? These are the things. Clear? Can I proceed? Can So I summarize. I don't want to, refer to the slide. We go fast. Okay? With example is better. Okay? Okay. So what you have to do to solve the problem when you want to collect requirement, when you want to conduct elicitation, when you want to do this project elicitation, requirement elicitation, what can be done to reduce all the challenges? or to solve or to face the challenges. These are the things. Communication skill, talk more, try to have a good communication, okay, with your client, okay, building up trust relationship, trust. So your client should trust you, you should trust your client, otherwise you don't reveal, okay. Knowledge reformulation and restructuring. So go for a lot of review meeting, discussion. Make sure your client involved in the project as much as possible. Don't be lazy. Don't sit and work by yourself, your own. Try to involve your client in your project as much as possible. The more review you do, the more discussion you do, the better your project going to be. So the project failure, remember yesterday, not yesterday. Last week I showed you one slide regarding project failure. Very high rate of project failure, many projects. Why? Due to communication. Due to communication. Now we are into the second main topic. Artifact driven and stakeholder driven. When you want to collect requirement, when you want to elicit requirement, there are two categories of techniques. One is artifact driven, one is stakeholder driven. Okay, what is artifact? Can anyone define what is artifact? What is artifact? You are using a thing or an object. A thing or an object. Okay, you use something to collect the requirement. You use artifact to collect the requirement. Stakeholder driven, you collect the requirement from the stakeholder. So two different techniques. One, you collect the requirement from stakeholder. One more, you use artifact to collect the requirement. So we're going to see what are the techniques comes under artifact, what are the techniques comes under stakeholder driven. You need to know the categories. Okay? Okay, now start. So these are the artifact driven technique. So we'll go one by one quickly. Background study. Okay, background study, data collection or questionnaire. Very popular, questionnaire. Okay? Then we have, you see background study, usually you refer to the the company's documentation or the company website, or you try to go and get the brochures or whatever, files that they have about the organization. So artifact is the company resources. So you try to collect requirement from the company resources. So that's why artifact driven. For the questionnaire, of course you provide questionnaire, survey form to collect the requirement online or even physical, you use a survey form. So that's the artifact. Okay? Then, repertory, grids, card sort, you are using the card or grid to collect the requirement. So artifact. Then you have scenarios or storyboard. Scenario, you know what is scenario? Like story writing. You go to the place, you see how they carry out their daily task. You write the daily task as a scenario, like a story. Okay? Or you use pictures, like graphics to explain what is the task. How do you fill up the petrol? How do you make payment at the petrol station? So you show step by step. Okay, so that is storyboard. If you use graphic, storyboard. If you use word, scenario. Okay, so all this we are using something to collect the requirement, right? Storyboard is artifact. The scenario itself is an artifact. Okay, prototyping also comes under artifact. You develop a prototype. You know what is prototype? Who can define what is prototype? Is prototype the actual system? Can I convert a prototype to become actual system?
Yes.
Yes, good. Can. That one can. But first, when we develop a prototype covers only the UI interface, user interface with very little function or no function. A prototype covers very little function or no function. And most of the user interface will be covered with the navigation. You know what is navigation? Click, move to next page. When click this, what happened to the next? What happened? Go to the next page. Navigation. Move from one place to another place. Go back. This. Okay, only the UI and navigation. This is considered prototype. So you develop prototype and show your client, ask him to try and feedback. You know why? Sometimes some people are not really IT savvy. They got no idea about how the system going to be, how the system going to work. They got no idea at all. Not IT savvy at all. Never used IT system before. So what usually we do, we develop a prototype and let them see, let them experience, let them feedback from what they see. Then you capture the requirement. So prototype itself, artifact. Okay? Then next, knowledge reuse. Who can tell me what is knowledge reuse? How do you get the knowledge to be reused? Where do you get the knowledge? Reuse on the new project. What knowledge and where the knowledge come from? Who can tell me? Anyone? Who is sleeping in my class? Let's call and ask. What is knowledge reuse? Where do you get the knowledge from? All awake ready. See? Not bad. Who's still sleeping? If your friends are sleeping next to you, you may recommend the name to me. You get one bonus mark. Last time used to have quiz for this subject. Impromptu quiz. You know what is impromptu quiz? Out of sudden I give you quiz. If you are sleeping, if you don't come for the class, you die. You know what happened? One day when I conduct, so few people came. So I decided to give the quiz on the, but not for the subject. Not for the subject. It was from last time, a few years back, we conduct impromptu for all the software engineering courses. 5 marks quizzes. 1 mark for one quiz. So it's just to make sure the attendance, you know. So for software engineering, very big group, 400 students. I was conducting last time. So now they pulled me back for database. So no more software engineering. So when I was doing software engineering, out of 400, about 200 plus only came. Very disappointing. So I decided to give the quiz. You know what? When I just told them, okay, I cover this lecture, end of the lecture, I'm going to give the quiz. Wow, before I end my class, all came. Most of them came. They contact their friend, hey, come, quiz is going on, come. Wow. At the end, by the time I finished my class, almost 90% attendance. Then I was thinking, should conduct for 14 weeks. So no need to worry about the attendance, right? But it's okay lah. If you skip 1 or 2 class, still okay. But try to come. Sometimes when you attend the lecture, if you find by listening to the lecturer you can really learn a lot, why not? If you find me very boring, you not really get anything for my lessons, then you can skip my class. I don't mind. If you find that I'm actually giving you a lot of input, this input going to come out in exam, why not? Later no need to do so much of revision. Just by listening to me, you can remember a lot of things. You understand or not? That's my intention. That's why I try to give you a lot of examples. Okay, get back to this. Yeah, what is knowledge? Knowledge. Okay, where do you get the knowledge to be reused? The word reuse means you already have. You have used once, then you are using again. So where do you get the knowledge for the project? Very simple. You are a developer. Okay? One of my sister is actually project manager. So she's working on healthcare related products. So their company focusing on healthcare products. You know, healthcare products such as imaging system, MRI scanning, CT scan, all kind of scanning system. So what happened? They only developed this kind of product when one hospital, you know, the Sunway Hospital, Columbia, right? The one in Sapa and other places. All those are their client. So what happened? When you develop one project, let's say MRI system for Columbia, then again you get another client for the same system, Sunway. Of course, you cannot just sell the same system. You need to customize the system according to the new requirement. But can you reuse the knowledge from the previous project? Cannot. Both also MRI scanning, MRI system. So can you use back the same knowledge to develop the new product? Exactly. Because you are expert in that type of product. You have already worked on one project for another vendor, another client. So what do? You try to reuse the knowledge from the previous project to do this project. So you know how, okay, this module works, how the other modules work. You know each and everything. So just need to reuse to develop again a similar product. That's the meaning of knowledge reuse. You have 2 types. You have domain independent, domain specific. Who can tell me example for domain independent? Domain independent? the knowledge from this system can be used for this system, but it must be domain independent. Who can tell me? Okay, point of sales, e-shopping system. Let's say e-shopping system and food ordering system. E-shopping, food ordering, two different systems, right? Totally two different domain. Can I use knowledge from one to the other? Can or not? Can. Both also ordering, food ordering, e-shopping, still got payment, online payment, e-wallet, all works in the same way. Add to the cart, all works in the same way. Ordering process work in the same way. Search work in the same way. But domain not the same. So can I use the domain knowledge? No, I cannot use the domain knowledge, but I can use the technical knowledge. So domain independent. You understand or not? So two different systems, I still can use the knowledge, but they are not the same domain. So we call it as domain independent. I cannot use the domain knowledge, but I can still use technical knowledge. So for food ordering system, I can use knowledge from e-shopping, how to develop the system, but I cannot use the e-shopping element because this is food ordering. So domain independent. Clear? What about domain specific? Both also same, like healthcare, both also healthcare. So I can use the whole thing. So it's domain specific. Clear? Okay, now we look at pro and cons. I already explained the techniques, but we go through some pictures and pro and cons, advantages and disadvantages for each technique. You have to know this in order to answer the exam questions. Because usually when I say, okay, between these two techniques, for the given scenario, which one is better? So you need to know what is the pro and cons of each technique to propose. Right? Okay, let's look at one by one. Okay, so background study, I don't have to explain again. I already explained whatever written here. Exactly what is written here, I have already discussed. So I just focus on the pro and cons. Okay? So, pro and cons. Okay? So, background study actually not much, advantages or disadvantages. Basically, you try to understand the domain of the company or the organization. You try to understand the organization background. Okay, how to understand this, how to get the knowledge? Usually we conduct background study. Go and collect information from the organization, website, their documents, and so on. Okay. Okay, next, data collection. Okay, data collection is all about questionnaire. So questionnaire, of course, you have to have a different type of question. Another task of your assignment. So when you design your questionnaire, right, don't focus on only one topic. Don't just ask about the problems in the current system, whole questionnaire. You should have some questions on the problem in the current system. Some questions may be about the expected features or services in the new system. What are the improvement clients or users are expecting? Can have like different sections with different types of questions. A good questionnaire usually will have multiple types of questions, multiple topic. Okay, multiple type. How? Yes, no answer. Strongly agree, disagree, strongly disagree. Yes, no. Okay, or subjective questions. Okay, you should have all type of questions. You understand or not? Not all, but try to cover more than one. Try to cover more than one type of questions. Okay. Yeah, see, qualitative and quantitative. Qualitative, usually we use this kind of words. High, low. This one where normally we will give the rating or scaling. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. If very high, you can just say 10. If very low, you can just say the lowest 1. So, rate now. So, they can actually come up with the quantitative, okay, response. Qualitative means like strongly agree, disagree. Okay, all these are qualitative. Okay. Okay, so now let's look at guideline to prepare a good questionnaire. Okay, design and validation. Select a representative, statistically significant sample of people. If you have 2,000 people, don't just choose 10. You need to calculate, at least cover 5% to 10%, so that you have sufficient information from the whole population. If population is 5,000, 5 to 10%. So 2,500, sorry, I say 5,000, right? So 250 to 500. very important when it comes to questionnaire. Okay, when do we go for questionnaire? Anyone? Okay, when do we go for questionnaire? Yeah, I have a slide on this. Yeah, here. Well, when do we go for questionnaire? This one important for you to decide which technique for your assignment. When you have a very big group of people, like customers, low-level staff, because normally high-level staff is like pyramid. Okay, high-level staff, usually the number will be very small. When you go down in the hierarchy, the low-level staff will be very big number. So when you want to cover big number of people, always questionnaire can be one of the best option. Cheap, fast. Can you see the quickly? Cheap, fast. It's a cheap method. Nowadays even cheaper. No need to print the paper. My time, when I about your age, I conducted questionnaire for my projects. I need to print out and distribute and wait there until they answer and collect back. Otherwise they don't know me, I don't know them how to collect. So need to wait there. Time consuming. But now no more. Now all Google form, Google questionnaire. So what you can do? Just get their email address, send them. If they forget to respond, you can keep reminding them. I received like one day about 10 requests to answer questionnaire. Okay, by students, by staff, colleagues and other university lecturers. Okay, so quickly can get the response, fast, cheap and remotely from many people. You don't have to go and meet them. You can just send email to them and get it from where you are. So that is another advantage. What is the disadvantage? My master project, no, my PhD, I conducted a questionnaire among my students. I don't want them to do this. You know what? When I gave, very thick, my survey was very thick. So I know, even myself, I used to do that last time. So, you know what? When we receive, we just tick good, if we like the person. If we don't like the person, especially when workshop or whatever, we put bad. But we don't even read the question. Just choose one. So is that good? No, right? So to avoid that, you know what I did? I prepared a token of appreciation. So they know, oh wow, Miss is preparing a token of appreciation. So they spend their time to give me valid, okay, or reliable response. Okay? So here multiple bias, recipient, respondent. Yeah. Sometimes they don't like you. When they want you to evaluate them, very bad. Bias. Actually, they don't really evaluate them, but bias. You see, all this happen in questionnaire. Drawback. Okay? Unreliable. Because good. Agree. Because you don't want to waste time. So you got no time to read. So you just put agree without reading the question. That is unreliable. Clear? Okay, now move on. So this one I covered already, right? Yeah, check the coverage of question. Try to have different aspects. Okay? Make sure the questions, answers, formulations are unbiased and unambiguous. Don't talk bad about anyone, any race, any religion. No bias questions. Supporting, like sometimes I see some questionnaire always talk good about female and talk bad about male, or the other way around. Talk good about male and talk bad about gender, the other gender. You shouldn't have such questions in your questionnaire. It will be rejected. Okay? Then implicitly redundant questions to detect inconsistent answer. This one even exam came out last time. You know what? When you have 200 questions, the same question can be repeated at 3 or 4 places. You know why? Who can tell me? If you have 20 questions, at least one question you repeat at 2 times. I mean 2 places. 2 times. Why? The same question, but you can change the structure. One, do you like to sleep always? Or do you like to sleep a lot? Yes, no. I love sleeping. Agree, disagree. So same question, 2 different structure. Put at 2 places, far away from each other. Why? Who can tell me? This one you can design. If you do this, you can see whether the respondent's response is valid or not valid. So you always before you distribute. Okay? If you are doing your FYP, final year project, your supervisor will check your questionnaire before you can distribute to your respondent. Always. Don't distribute a questionnaire without checked by someone. Okay? Okay, next. Cut sort. Wow, this is quite old technique. But still some people are using it. My sister told me in New Zealand when she was working as project manager, her company used to use this technique. Cut sorting. You want to see how it looks like? This is the technique. Every single feature, every single requirement you write in a cut. Then you sort according to the, you have to group them. All the relevant related features grouped together. Then you can check whether got duplicate, got missing requirement, they are related or not, which functions are related, which can be collect together to become a module, so on. So this is a good technique, but currently not practiced by many companies. Okay? So this is how you do at the end, cut sort. Can you see? Grouping them, modularization. We call modularization. You get your modules by group all the related functions together. Okay? Okay, so what is good about this technique? You see here, simple, cheap. Yeah, your development team go for a meeting. You all sit together, write down all the features you collected from the requirement. Then you discuss and do it on the day. You can settle in one day. So of course it is simple, cheap, easy to use technique. Okay. What about drawback? Result may be subjective, irrelevant, inaccurate. Yeah, inaccurate obviously. Okay. So how to ensure that you have collected all? How to ensure like there's no evaluation? That's why it is inaccurate, very subjective. Very subjective. Okay, it depends on your development team. If everyone understands the same point or not. So very subjective. Okay. Okay, scenario and storyboard. You guys know what is scenario and storyboard, right? Okay, so for your information, we have passive mode. Stakeholders are told the story. Active mode, stakeholders contribute. So passive mode, your what do you call that? Your stakeholders just listen to you. You tell the story. Your scenario is told as a story. They just listen. They don't talk. They don't respond. But active, you see active mode. When you tell the story, they can correct you. They can contribute. They can respond. They can also discuss with you. So that is active. Your listener involved. Your client involved. Then it is active. If only you talk, then passive. They only listen. Okay? Obviously, active is better. Okay? More discussion, your requirement will be better. Okay, so scenario, widely used for explanation and exploration. When you talk like a story, when you tell like a story, you will explore more and more things. You will find out more and more information about the system to be developed. Okay? So usually can use a diagram or text. Okay? So let me show you if I have image. This is an example of words. An example of words. So you want to collect requirement for what? Meeting initiator, right? Meeting scheduler. Okay? You want to collect information how to design and develop a meeting scheduling system. So ask your client to tell like a story. So you see, the initiator asks the scheduler for planning. So they tell you how it works. They explain the process like a story. So you can capture all the requirement from here. You understand or not? So that is scenario. That is scenario. So initiator asks for the scheduler for planning. The scheduler checks that the initiator is entitled to do so. So whether they are actually allowed to do so or not. Then the scheduler asks for all participants in the submitted list to send their dates and location constraint, whether they are available or not. When participant returns the constraint, the scheduler validates that, see which slot everyone is available. Then once valid constraints are received, the scheduler determines the meeting date and location. So you send to everyone participate in the meeting, like just now they asked, everyone available on Wednesday? After all of you respond, then I decide the date and time and the location. Something. So I tell how I carry out my manual task. From here you can actually plan how to come up with the requirement for the application. You understand or not? Okay. Okay, type of scenario, we have positive scenario and negative scenario. What is positive, what is negative? Okay, you are filling up a form, a constraint form. So you write everything, you write the date. If let's say you write a valid date, then it's normal. Everyone are supposed to write a valid date. What happens if you go and accidentally write invalid date? Your date format is invalid. You go and put 31st February? 31st of February. Exists or not? So this is negative. Do something against the flow. So negative. So usually error handling. Error handling considered negative. Understand? Okay, negative flow. Same thing goes to normal and abnormal. Everything proceeds as expected. You follow the rules and do properly. Positive. If you do in a improper way, for example, interaction sequence in exception situation, again error handling. So positive is normal flow, negative is exception or error handling. Normal flow, exception or error handling. Okay? Okay, pro and cons. Okay, scenario, very concrete example. When I tell you like a story, everyone can understand in a very good way. If I tell you, if I use a very formal method, very difficult to capture the point. So concrete is like real example. So you can understand better. Okay, narrative style, yeah, like storytelling. So people understand, people like storytelling, right? Animation sequence, yeah, sometimes you can animate and come up with some graphic to support your scenario, which is even better. Okay, negative, okay, inherently partial. So you cannot cover the entire system features, correct or not? You can only cover a part by part because it is time consuming, too many things, right? Even one small function you need to write a lot. So it is not covering all, okay? Potential over specification. Sometimes you go and explain unwanted things. Just for meeting scheduling just now, you go and even write what is the dress code, what is the other things which we are not required for system development. So over specification not needed. Okay? Sometimes contain in irrelevant detail. You know, you want your scenario sound very good. So you don't start directly to the point. Meeting scheduling, you start from, I entered the meeting room. I find my office chair. I sat, okay, quietly on my seat and then I started doing, you write like, you know, some unwanted, irrelevant information to make the scenario sounds good, but they are not needed for requirements. Okay, elicitation. So, time waste. Okay? Okay, now prototyping. Okay, prototyping. Can anyone tell me what are the two prototyping have you learned in software engineering? Prototyping waterfall. What are the two? Yes, correct. Throw away, prototype, and what is the other one? Evolutionary. Okay, do you still remember the difference? What is evolutionary? Throw away means you throw away the prototype, meaning only used to capture the requirement. After capturing or gathering the requirement, oh, I don't need this prototype, throw away. That's the meaning. Okay, meaning just used for elicitation. What is the other one? Evolutionary. You got the prototype, you show the customers, get the feedback, go back and modify the prototype. Slowly, evolutionary. Slowly come back and show again. After the changes, show again. Your customer give you more changes, more requirement. Go back, update, update, update. At the end, prototype become the real system. Evolutionary. Prototype become the actual system that you're going to deliver. Slowly update. Slowly add the functions. Slowly do one by one. So evolutionary. Okay, so that's introduction from software engineering. So now look at this. Quick implementation by use very high level programming language, executable specification or spec language, generic services. Okay, so advantages, obviously better understanding. So you can see here, what is mockup, what is evolutionary. Okay, and then are not clear about what they want, prototyping is the best. Okay? Pro and cons, concrete again. You show something real. A real system, but not a real system, but something like a system. Show them. So concrete example. Okay? Yeah, when you let them try the prototype, don't you think you are training them? You are training them how to use the system that you're going to develop in future. Correct or not? When they try, they know how to log in, they can see how the login is going to look like. So you are giving them training indirectly. So it's a very good thing. You are training your customers, your client from the beginning. Okay? So that is another advantage. Usually training will be conducted like my company last time. We always conduct the training after the user acceptance testing. User acceptance testing pass, we're going to launch the product, we will do 1 week training. So now when you do prototyping, you already start the practice or training early. Okay? Doesn't cover all aspects. There are no functions. No functions. Can be misleading. Sometimes you use automated prototype generator. So what happened? It's nothing to do with the real system. The prototype is just like a simple I can say simple application, a part of application which doesn't look exactly like your real system. So you are just generating this prototype to capture the requirement. But your client might think, oh, this is how my system going to be. This is how my real system going to look like or going to work. So they will misunderstand. So they can actually cause misleading. They will think this is how the system going to be. Because some companies, they don't want to spend time on prototype. So they use generator. Automated or what do you call that? Prototype generator. So it will just generate a simple application, okay, for the capturing purpose, requirement capturing. But when client try this prototype, they might think, oh, this is how my system going to be. This is how my real system going to look like. So that can cause some issues. Potential inconsistency between modified code and documented requirement. Yeah, because now, evolutionary. You go ask, you change. You go ask, you change. But your documentation, which you prepare in the beginning or at the end, doesn't look consistent with what you do in the coding part. The actual development and the documentation not consistent. Because you simply modify, okay, your initial work. So you don't really follow the standard or proper way of writing code or proper way of design. You are just modifying and modifying and modifying. So this can cause quality of code or design to drop. Evolutionary. Okay? Clear? Okay, 5 minutes break. Look so sad. 5 minutes break. Want to go washroom?